mysterious 4-year-old crisis of disappearing honeybees is deepening.
A rash of mysterious disappearances of honeybee colonies.
Millions of honeybees are mysteriously disappearing without a trace.
The mysterious disappearances of bees.
What's causing this sudden disappearance of the bees?
A mysterious new problem called colony collapse disorder.
Colony collapse disorder.
Colony collapse disorder.
Colony collapse disorder.
Like when I pulled the bees in, and we have another spot we unload them, so I unloaded them there and I spread them out. I turned around and I went back to Michigan that same night, and my wife went out the next morning to check them, and she called me crying because she pulled into an apiary that had 100 hives and there were 3 live ones. We didn't even know what we were going to do yet or what had really happened.
Denny Best is a commercial beekeeper. In 2008, he lost almost all of his bees to colony collapse.
We got them down here, they looked okay. I spread them out into the outyards. They started brooding out. I knew something wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Over the next 5 weeks, we started trucking bees down. In the last 3 loads I brought down, out of those 3 loads, there were 16 live hives out of 1,200 hives. And that field was completely solid beehives. And what you look at, those are what's left alive. And I've brought in 40 hives since then.
We knew that beekeepers were reporting that their colonies were dying. The bees were disappearing, which is unusual. This is a social insect. Social insects do not leave their sisters, they don't not leave their nest, they don't leave their queen, and in these cases, they were.
Jerry Hayes leads the CCD Working Group, a research team devoted to finding the cause of colony collapse disorder.
And I remember I was sitting in my bedroom late one night when we were trying to figure out what it was, and we came up with the name colony collapse disorder because we didn't know what it was.
This acronym, this phenomenon describes a new occurrence, a revived occurrence of this series of symptoms that are quite unique. And the symptoms are thus. You have a colony that is otherwise healthy that loses its bee population very quickly.
The head of honeybee research, Dr. Jamie Ellis, works to solve the problems beekeepers are facing worldwide.
Colony collapse disorder really broke in about 2006, and along with it came this new series of symptoms that bee scientists and beekeepers were unable to assign to any one of the known pests or diseases or nutritional stresses, etc., that we've been facing for a while.
We had 2 entomologists come out and go through our hives, and they said that they can't pin their finger on it. I mean, there's nothing, you can't look in a hive and go, okay, well, this is colony collapse. You go, okay, well, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's not that. That's the only thing left. And that was their conclusion. The one entomologist, he goes, I'll give you a definitive answer. They're dead. I said, thanks. Perfect.
It seems to be a compendium of things. Certainly varroa mite is a significant stressor. It's an external parasite. If you make a fist and put it someplace on your body, proportionally, this is how large this mite is to a honeybee's body, sucking its blood. If you had a parasitic rat on you, you would not be in good shape.
It's easy to say one factor like varroa mites, this big pest that was introduced in 1987, it's the reason. Well, we've been having bee declines 40 years prior to that. We had in the 1940s, about the mid-1940s, we had almost 6 million bee colonies in the U.S., and today we only have 2.4. So there's been a linear, very noticeable decline in the number of honeybee colonies. A lot of people say, what happened in the 50s? Well, pesticides hit the market.
Here's something you ought to try, a new chemical soil conditioner called Quillium, made by Monsanto.
Agriculture changed and more pesticides and fungicides and what have you were used, and the number of honeybees just fell away.
The literature suggests that the average honeybee colony can forage a 3-mile radius in any direction from its nest. That's 28 square miles of area that a single honeybee colony can forage.
That's a lot of territory. That's a lot of acres. They're being exposed to a lot of things. And so yes, is this very small insect trying to tell us something? Is it the canary in the mine shaft? And are we listening? I think is the question. Certainly honeybees produce honey, which is wonderful, and we have some wonderful varietal honeys in the state of Florida, but honey is a byproduct of pollination, and we have a lot of pollinator-dependent agriculture in the state of Florida that needs healthy, vital honeybee colonies.
Having honeybees on a crop increases the percent of fruit set. So watermelon growers, blueberry growers, etc. all recognize this, so they pay beekeepers to bring their colonies to the crops during the bloom so that there's enough bees out there to increase the fruit set. If you look at a strawberry, the outside of the strawberry is covered in small seeds. Well, in order for that strawberry to look like and be the shape of a strawberry, every one of those seeds needs to be pollinated when it's a flower.
Matter of fact, we had some okra here last year, and of course the bees didn't actually pollinate it. And the little okra, large blossom, large blooms came out, but the little okra was not as long as the joint of my finger, purely because it wasn't pollinated.
I talked to someone just the other day that was saying that they said, well, I don't eat almonds and I don't eat blueberries, I don't like apples, so I don't need bees. And I said, well, you're eating a steak. I said, we pollinate most of the seed clover that's produced to produce hay to feed cattle. So I said, well, you're welcome.
Commercial beekeepers keep large quantities of bees and move them around the country so that various crops can be pollinated.
My staff have been very busy partnering with Florida beekeepers so that they could ship their colonies to California, because this is a business where you can load honeybee colonies on semis and transport them elsewhere.
Driving into the valley 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I can't remember, we saw semi-loads of bees coming out with no nets on them. We kept, what is wrong with them things? We finally got a hold of somebody on the radio, and he said they're dead. And then we learned later that there was 60,000 dead hives that had been taken in, and they were just hauling them back out. They were dead.
Commercial beekeepers feed their bees artificial diets which are nutritionally incomplete. Bees are put on monocrops. Bees are designed to go out and forage from a variety of flowers, get a variety of pollens, which is their protein, lipid, and vitamin and mineral source, so they're only getting one. And, as an analogy, I can feed you a diet of Hershey bars only. I can run you around the block until you're exhausted. I can keep you up for 3 nights in a row. I can spray Raid in your face every day, and I'm going to kill you. I can put you on a plane to Kathmandu, and I guarantee you will get sick. And that's what we're doing to honeybees.
You can't take your bees, all the way across the country and expect what's going on in that area of the country, for you to understand what's going on there, because you're not from there, your bees aren't from there.
Heather Gamper is a hobbyist beekeeper who keeps her bees on small farms in the Tallahassee area.
I got, through word of mouth, someone said, hey, the people out at Turkey Hill would like people to keep bees out on their property. It's a real healthy environment for the bees. The size of this farm and what these bees are encountering is generally good for them. If you can, control the environment for the foraging distance of a bee, you can kind of be assured that you're doing your small little piece for, if we could all piece together kind of like patchworks like that, it would be a better place for everybody. If you actually have that, tied to the place, you're willing to make it better for your bees. If you notice, these boxes are smaller than Tony's. His are the 10-frame boxes that more commercial beekeepers use, but I can't lift all that.
It's a lot of work. These boxes here, if this box here was full of honey, it would weigh over 100 pounds.
Tony Hogg has been keeping bees for almost a decade. He often mentors individuals interested in becoming beekeepers.
As Florida develops a lot of small farming enterprises, the people that have 2 to 5 acres of blueberries or a couple of acres of strawberries, they're going to be looking for pollinators on a small scale, which which small-scale beekeepers can fit that niche. There are very few people getting into commercial beekeeping because it is so difficult to make a living at it. But if if you get 1,700 people each keeping 2 beehives, you've got a pretty good population of bees around.
In the last year or two, there has been a tremendous resurgence in the interest in what we call hobby or part-time beekeepers. We register beekeepers and inspect beekeepers in the state of Florida, and last year we registered 400 new beekeepers.
3 years ago we had 1,100 registered beekeepers. Today we have 1,500 registered beekeepers. That's 400 more. That's a 33% increase over what we had.
We've seen a tremendous increase in beekeeping. I was one of the original members of the Appalachian Beekeepers. This past February we did our 3rd Introduction to Beekeeping workshop. Each year we have approximately 100 people attend that are interested in beekeeping or interested in becoming a beekeeper. So the interest is still out there. People are still interested in it.
We've just been, hearing about the colony collapse disorder, and that's something that, sparked it, and we looked into it, got further interested, and we decided to lend a hand and help him bring the bee population back.
You're looking at the honey, and then you see the queen, this big fat queen that's just beautiful, and it's like, oh, this is cool.
It's a high. It's something that you do, and I don't know how to describe it.
Everybody has a different deal with bees. It may sound bizarre, but I'll go sit on top of one of the 5 beehives, just sit in the middle. Just sit on it.
Beekeepers are a unique subset of the population.
People start looking like their dogs, or their dogs start looking like their owners. I feel like I'm turning into a bee.
That one got me. The outlook is excellent for beekeeping. I mean, beekeepers are, I think beekeepers are a very resilient bunch. Honeybees have been here for millions of years. Most of it was without our help. So they will probably continue to be here with or without our help.
It's quiet on my block, except for the